welcome to A Little Crafting. My name is Annie and this is my bi-weekly podcast where I talk about all the things I've been making, usually knitting, weaving, dyeing, spinning and also sewing. It hasn't only been 2 weeks, it's been 3 this time, but today is Friday the 10th of June and I am recording from Surrey, which is in the southeast of the UK, just southwest of London. Welcome to any new viewers and welcome back to anyone else. I really appreciate you being here. Please do remember to like and subscribe if you enjoy this episode. In terms of social media, you can find me on Instagram as a_little_crafting and on Ravelry as Ankiwoo. And I'm going to kick off by talking about what I am wearing, and then I will probably remove it because it is boiling at the moment. But this is my Velvet Miracal by Andrea Mowry. I knit it most recently, it's my most recent finished object, and it is knit out of a strand of Suri Alpaca Silk and a strand of standard superwash merino nylon sock yarn. And it is absolutely beautiful. So it is colourwork knitting, and I thoroughly enjoyed knitting it, and I do really enjoy the colours as well. This was from a set from Botanical yarn, which I bought at Farnham Unravel Festival, which is not too far away from where I live, and that was back in February, I think, which is crazy. It's June now. How did that go so fast? But yeah, this is the cowl and I'm going to remove it. So yeah, absolutely lovely cowl, and really sped through it. It does a shift, so the colourwork swaps around between the two colours halfway through. So you'll see, I think that's the join actually there, yeah, where it swaps over. And it has a crossover in it so that you can wear it however you like. Yeah, super nice. And I do have a knit along running for this at the moment. It ends on the 30th of June and it takes place on my Ravelry. I will pop a link in the description below, but there are 2 prizes, so one for the UK, and for that prize I will be dyeing some yarn. So I will be dyeing a mohair, sorry, not a mohair, a Suri Alpaca, God, I would not be dyeing mohair, Suri Alpaca Silk and a merino to match, in whatever colours you like. And then for the rest of the world, the prize will be the Snuggle is Real cowl pattern, and I will send you that pattern however you like. So yeah, that is going on Ravelry at the moment, and yeah, definitely recommend knitting this. Like I've said several times, I would not have thought to knit this if I hadn't seen the sample at the Botanical yarn booth and felt the softness. It is so beautifully soft with the Suri Alpaca, and it's made me fall in love with this as a fibre. So yeah, that's what I'm wearing at the moment and no longer wearing. So I'll pop it down on the floor. Next up, I'm going to talk about works in progress because I haven't finished knitting anything for a really long time. So I will guess which bag this is in, and then talk about what I've been making. So the first one is just a really simple hat pattern that I'm making up as I go along. So what I wanted to do was test out some of this Surrey Alpaca held double with some other yarn. That looks really good actually. Let's see if I can get the focus right. It's blowing out a bit. But the Surrey Alpaca is a Fruitful Fusion Surrey in the Ocean colourway. And the yarn that I'm using underneath is Rosa Pomar Mondim, in just a dark blue colourway. I think they have numbered colours, so I never know what is going on. I would say it's still blowing out a little bit. It's much more teal than it's showing up, rather than blue, but it looks really cool. So what I've done is just cast on a number of stitches. I don't know how many, maybe 100. And then done just a 1 by 1 row at the bottom, so you can see that there. And then I did this little ridge effect, so basically alternated between the blue standard kind of wool yarn and the Surrey, just to have a bit of interest, just to try it out, and then carried on knitting the 2 strands together for the rest of the way. But it does give a nice speckled effect, and it does make this yarn quite soft. It's normally quite, I mean, it's a sock yarn, so I think it must have nylon in it. I don't have the ball band, unfortunately. This is one where I knit some socks out of it and seem to have lost the ball band on the way, but it's quite a kind of rough-ish wool yarn. So adding the Suri Alpaca makes it really lovely and soft, and this is what the Surrey looks like at the moment. But I don't know if I mentioned before, I tried this Surrey Hill double with a turquoise, but it looked way too mild for my liking. So I wanted something a bit more delicate and soft in terms of the variation in the colours, which is why I thought I'd go for something dark instead of something bright alongside it. And I think it's going pretty well. But this is just a test, really. I have to figure out how to decrease for the top of the hat. But I've been enjoying it so far. It's just quite an easy knit, especially at the moment where I'm just doing a straight section of knit stitches with the 2 colours, 2 strands held together. But it's the first time I've done that, so I've never ever held anything double in the way that I'm doing now for 2 different fibres like this, where I've got a wool and a Surrey alpaca. And I've never used mohair like that before. In fact, I'm allergic to mohair, as it turns out. So yeah, it's very interesting to try this technique, and then I've got a few more skeins of yarn that I'm going to use in a similar way at some point. Yeah, I'll hopefully have that finished fairly soon, because it basically makes up a DK weight when you hold the 2 strands together. It's a fingering and a lace, but the lace kind of plumps out because you've got all these extra strands of Surrey. Let's see if I can make this work. Yeah, you can see it kind of fluffs up. You've got those little strands of fluff. It's not that obvious on the camera, but trust me. So yeah, that is my first work in progress. And I'm keeping it in a Clara Rose Crafts bag, who is a great maker on Etsy bags. Right, the second work in progress I have is in a Quince Pie bag, who is another maker on Etsy, and she does round bottom bags. And this is my Zorzal shawl, which you may have seen if you watched the podcast quite a bit. And this is a pattern by Lisa Hannis, and it's a crescent shaped shawl, which I've seen on other people, and it looks really easy to wear. And that is where I am at the moment. So I'm using 2 colourways. This one is Mutende and the other one is Just Rust. Those are both dyed originally by Mr. B's yarns, but now Bird Street yarn. So yeah, they're both fingering weight merino nylon 75/25 sock yarn, but absolutely beautiful colours, and I always had these put aside to go together in a shawl, and I think this works perfectly. So I assure you, I have put this on a longer cable, but I've knit quite a bit, so it's got a lot longer than it was last time I showed it. But you do these segments. So the first one is just stripes, which looks really cool. Then you do a block section and like a wedge along. So you use short rows to kind of create one side that's much thicker and one section that's much thinner in terms of the colour segment. And then you do it the other way. So using the other colour, you do the same on the other side. I'm going to try and show this off a bit better. because the colours are just wonderful in this. I really like the effect that this yarn has, and the fact that we've got those little tiny pops of orange jumping out and well, not contrasting, but sort of working with the orange in the other colour. So yeah, I'm on the second solid colour segment, which is going really well. I think I'm almost done with that bit. Got a little way to go. Yeah, I've got to continue knitting for about that much, and obviously there'll be some short rows to go back and forth along there, and it goes all the way back along each time. But yeah, really enjoying it. It's one of my go-to knits at the moment, and the part after this will be another stripe section to form the edge of the shawl, for the border section, and I'm really looking forward to having it done. It's just looks great, but also enjoying the process. So simple, but with a little twist, I think, with those short rows going through the whole thing. Yeah, so really happy to have been working on that. I'm knitting this on my Higher Sharp interchangeable set, and I am knitting it on 3mm needles, and I tend to have to go down needle size when I am knitting. It's a super simple pattern overall, so it's not like it would be difficult for beginners, so long as you know how to do increases, decreases and short rows. I think you'd be good. Basically, if you know how to knit a sock, you can knit this, and with shawls you don't have to worry as much about gauge. As long as you like the fabric that you're making, that's absolutely fine. And yeah, it's been very enjoyable to knit so far. There we go. I think I'm about maybe about halfway on the yarn, not 100% sure. They definitely look a lot smaller than they were to begin with. Maybe I've used up about 40 grams of each, just to estimate. So yeah, should be plenty to finish that shawl off. I do have another crescent shaped shawl that I really love. That was the Road to Rhinebeck shawl, which is a DK weight one by Knitting Expat. So that's why I thought I would definitely want to knit another crescent shape like this, and I've had this yarn in my stash for so long, so I'm really pleased to finally be working with it and making something out of it. Yeah, that's that one. And then I kind of have another whip that I've been working on, but I'm toying with frogging it. So last year I embarked on knitting a couple of summer tops. One of them is the Pretty in Pleats by Andrea Yetman, in an Isager Bomulin yarn, which is a blend of linen and cotton. And I am knitting this on bamboo Higher Sharp needles, or Higher needles, because I don't think they do them in sharp. There you go. Because I find it much easier to work with cotton and linen with something like bamboo, because it's not as slippery as the metal needles. But I got this out because I stopped knitting it obviously last year because it went into winter, and I decided I needed to knit something else. And I could have sworn I was further up than this. But yeah, this is the Pretty in Pleats by Andrea Yetman. It's kind of a tank top knit in this yarn. And yeah, it's quite boring at the moment, that's the only thing. I think this is fingering weight yarn, so obviously there's a lot of stockinette. I need to just keep going and keep going and keep going until the underarms, it's knit bottom up. It is a free pattern, and I really like the kind of ruche detail that is at the front, but I've also seen a lot of other patterns that I think would suit me better. So I'm debating. I've knit a couple of rows on this. It's the sort of thing that I might knit gradually, just when I need something that's really simple in stockinette stitch. rather than my other projects that I really enjoy all the time, just because it's going to be quite a slog, I think, to get up to the underarm here when I've only knit this much so far. I seriously could have sworn I'd knit more than this, but yeah, this is possibly going to get frogged. I'm going to see how I feel in a couple of weeks. Maybe if I've got it out and knit a few more rows, then I'll keep going. Which is a shame, because I think I went to extra effort to make sure that I had enough yarn in this lovely Isager Bomulin for it. I don't have the label in here for some reason, but I do have another ball somewhere. I'll just have to find it when I need it. And yeah, I'm knitting this on 2.25mm needles, so you can imagine this is basically sock needles that I'm knitting this on. So yeah, we'll see. I'm definitely being very particular about my knitting at the moment. I'm not really interested in knitting the sweaters that I would normally be knitting, because it's so warm, and the two that I have on the needles are quite woolly. One of them is the Weekender sweater by Andrea Mowry, and the other is, I can't remember the name, but it's one by Jennifer Steingass that I'm knitting out of Floaty Lopey. So they're both very woolly, and something light is definitely appealing at the moment with the heat that we have here in the UK. So I will see what happens, and yeah, how I feel about that. But basically right now I have a lot of whips. I would really like to do a review, but I'm also in a weird mood with my knitting, so I really feel like casting something on that's going to give me loads of joy and I'm really going to enjoy knitting through. I'm also in the back of my mind thinking, I have so many things all cast on, but they are not close to being done. So if I had something that was close to being done, I could just finish it off and feel like I was okay to cast something else on. So I've put myself in a weird position. But yeah, let's see how I get on. Maybe if I finish my shawl, I can cast on the thing that I talked about last time, which is just a little throw over top with no sleeves, which I think will be really lovely for the autumn, probably at this point. So yes, that is all of the knitting content right now. And now I will move on to talking about yarn dyeing. So a couple of weekends ago I went with a whole group of my craft friends to a place called Butser Farm, Butser Ancient Farm actually, and it's in Hampshire, which is not too far away from where I live. I think it took us about 3/4 of an hour to drive down there. And we did a natural dyeing course, which was lovely to do in the surroundings of the old buildings and kind of just the really lovely old farm there. So we paid for a course for a group of 9 of us, and we tried out all sorts of different dyes. So there was things like woad and cochineal and turmeric. Turmeric made the most amazing yellow colour, and I'm actually a bit sad that I didn't try that out. And then we also ended up dyeing with indigo at the end of the day, which, thinking about it now, I would not want to attempt at home. It's quite messy. So I'll just go through a few things that I dyed. I apologise, I don't think I can remember which colours related to which. I should have marked them down somehow. But the first one was this lovely light pink colour. There we go. And somehow I've ended up with loads of pinks. This was with cochineal, which I normally do really like as a natural dye. I've bought some before, some yarn dyed with cochineal before. So kind of dark, slightly more bright purpley pink. And then I don't know. But another thing, I was really interested in the pinks on the day. There you go. So yeah, I did 3 pink mini skeins for some reason. I didn't vary what I was doing. But we also had scarves, so silk scarves to dye. And I did this beautiful orange one. And again, I can't remember what I plant dyed this with, so I will have to have another look and ask my friends to remind me what it was. So yeah, it's kind of a really light orange, and I love the way that silk takes this colour. Yeah, really lovely and delicate. And I also really enjoy the little specks of the brighter colours throughout. So it probably needs an iron because I've just had it scrunched up in a dye vat. So that is that one. And then yeah, like I said, we did play with some indigo as well. And I ended up with these 2. So these are non-superwash merino nylon that I often dye with acid dyes. But yeah, we did 2 different shades of blue from the same dye vat. So this one went in first and this one went in later. But what I did find was it's just so messy. So after I'd dyed and rinsed and put loads of water through the yarn, I shoved it into a plastic bag, brought it home, did that again, rinsed everything out, and it's true, it takes up so much water just to rinse. I then hung these off my sink in the downstairs toilet just to dry off, and then an hour later went and had a look and there was blue all over the floor. But you know, it happens with indigo. So when you put your hands in new jeans, so in the pockets of new jeans, you get blue hands. I had blue hands for days after this. And it does make a really pretty colour, but I feel like if I tried to do this at home, it would be chaos. And yeah, so I think I'll stick to the acid dyes for blue anyway. I did also get a book that I am actually just gonna quickly go and grab. Yeah, this is the book I got, which is the Jenny Dean Book of Wild Colour. And it has all sorts of different explanations of how to use different plants for dyeing, and also mordants and other things that you can use to adjust the colour. So this will be so useful when we attempt to dye things again, which we'll probably do in a friend's garden at some point. Make sure we've got the setup right and all of that. So yeah, this is going to be very useful. And we did have a lot of fun on the day. It was wonderful just testing out all the colours, trying different things. One of my friends did a multicoloured skein of yarn. So by dipping the yarn into different vats and then letting it dry and then doing it again. So that was lovely. And there were some really beautiful scarves at the end of the day with different things dyed. So yeah, this is really nice. Might actually stick this on if I can. There you go. Lovely little scarf. Yeah, so that is, I guess, my dyeing segment for this week. In other news, I have got a bit addicted to spinning. Like I mentioned in the last episode, I've been really enthusiastic about it. And I decided to spin some kind of small sections of fibre top that I had in 2 colours and see what I could do with it. And I've created this lovely barber pole effect yarn. And what I'm noticing with this is it's a 2-ply, but I am getting more and more consistent. There's no big bunchy sections, so it's lovely. And I want to try and create a bit more yarn in this manner and see how it knits up. I'm guessing it will marl a bit, but yeah, I might do a swatch with this one first of all. And then the other news is that I got myself a new spinning wheel. So yes, I do have my grandmother's one. I noticed that the back part that connects the foot pedal to the wheel is coming loose, and I am concerned about continuing to use it for that reason. It's also quite difficult to ply on, and also because the warp in the wheel itself quite difficult to push on. And I saw that Weft Blown, a shop here in the UK, were having a sale of some wheels, and I took the opportunity to buy myself a shacked ladybug, and it is so much easier to spin on. So I can move my feet quite fast. It's very smooth in its effect, but I haven't had a chance to do much on it yet, so I bought it and it arrived last week. But as a result, I also thought I would buy some more fibre because I don't have that much. I've got some scraps and a couple of other bits. So I got a couple of lots of fibre. I got a few natural colours, and sorry about the crinkling, from World of Wool. And these are different. So this is UK White Organic Top, which I think is going to be an organic merino. This one is Oatmeal Blueface Leicester. This one is a Stricken Lonk Top, which is another kind of more mottled white fleece top. And then I got one merino teal top. And the idea I had with these ones is that I want to dye them. So I'm gonna attempt to dye wool top rather than pre-spun wool, and I am really tempted to do something like create a gradient yarn. So I'm gonna have to look up how to do it, how to dye it in the right way so that I can do that. But I've got 200 grams of each of these. So something else I was thinking of is actually spinning them together. So blending them and spinning them. But I don't know if the different fibre lengths will maybe make it harder for me to do that. So yeah, I'll probably end up dyeing these and see what happens with that. It's just a good, cool experiment. I just thought it would be one of the things I'd really like to try is spinning a gradient yarn to make something really beautiful. I also want to try and spin something for a large shawl. I have the Grow Shawl pattern by Fibre Tales, and I thought that would be absolutely perfect for some hand spun. So I want to try and spin consistently enough to get, I think, probably 200 to 300 grams of yarn that will work for that. So yeah, that's also on the cards. I'm not sure, I could actually do it, I think it would look really nice in this colour as a natural colour, but I'm not sure if that would really suit me. I mean, it doesn't have to be for me. It's got some lovely variation in it. So maybe I'll end up doing that with the BFL 200 grams. The thing I am concerned about is making sure I have enough grams of yarn to counteract any errors in my spinning that I make. So yeah, that is something to consider. So I've got those ones and the turquoise. This is probably one I'll spin fairly soon because it's a nice teal colour. Again, 200 grams, a nice amount. Something else I got, which was to play with really, is this pack. Again, sorry for the crinkling. I'm not sure if you can see that. So it's a wool discovery pack, and it's got lots of different wools. So 18.5 micron merino, 23 micron merino, Blueface Leicester, which I think is going to be the same as the one that I bought in the 200 grams. It's got Shetland, Jacob, Devon, Swaledale and Herdwick. So I'm going to be giving these a go in their little pack here. and yeah, just trying some different sheep fibres and seeing how different they are will be really cool. I can't remember how many grams they are each. It's probably something like 20. But yeah, really cute little pack of mixed fibre. And then with my wheel I got a little bit more fibre, so I went for some natural Shetland wool top. This is a grey, just looks like a really silvery lovely grey. And then I went for 2 reds because I fancied barber poling 2 reds together, or applying 2 reds together. So this is Sherry, which is beautiful. And then this one is a more kind of muted red, which is Loganberry. It's not as bright as it looks on camera. That is a lovely colour though. So yeah, both from Weft, or all from Weft Blown, those 3. So yeah, that is where my spinning addiction has got me. I should probably start spinning a bit more and actually knitting with my hand spun too. So something I might do is when I finish the hat that I'm knitting at the moment is wind up one of the skeins of yarn I have spun and give that a go, which I'm super excited about. So yeah, my plan is to actually spin for knitting and weaving in the long run, and then hopefully one day what I'm going to do is go from fleece to top to yarn to spun yarn to dyed yarn to something woven, and then sew it into a bag of some kind. That's my plan. So that's quite exciting. And yeah, having lots and lots of fun, although very busy with lots of other things at the moment, so I don't know when I'm going to find the time to do too much actual crafting. But thank you very much for joining me today, and I will speak to you as soon as I can. It may be that the schedule changes because I'm just busy at the moment. My weekends are packed, family wants to see us, and it's super warm as well. So yeah, so it might be another 3 or 4 weeks before I record again, but I'm hoping that that means I'll have more content to share with you. So have a lovely crafty couple of weeks and speak to you soon. Bye.